It's that time again. The annual conference of the American Society of Ag Consultants, otherwise known as ASAC, is going to be held in Fort Myers, Florida, this November 4th and 5th. Kurt Covington is one of 9 professionals who will address the conference. The other speakers who will cover a wide range of topics represent Florida Farm Bureau, Florida Citrus Commission, University of Tennessee Institute of Agriculture, National Ag Law Center, Risk Mitigators and Advisors, Tyler Associates, as well as the lead economist for dairy at CoBank, and myself, Chrissy Wozniak from North American Ag. The day and a half of presentations will be followed by ag tours on Tuesday afternoon at Echo Farms, one of my favorite places here in Fort Myers. Attendees will experience farming at its most creative, with unique demonstrations, plants, and techniques being used to help farmers and urban gardeners in developing countries. A second tour at Echo will showcase simple technologies that can improve food, water, and shelter for millions of people. A third tour of a hydroponic grower is also being planned. For more information and to register, visit www.agconsultants.org. That's www.agconsultants.org. See you there. Today's Ag Spotlight episode is sponsored by Focus Management. Does your farm or company have a problem with execution of your strategic plans? Increase your competitive advantage in a hard-to-copy way with Focus Management, your strategy execution guides. Learn more at focusmanagement.ca. Hi, and welcome to the North American Ag Spotlight. I'm Chrissy Wozniak, and I am so excited today to be talking with someone who sees and responds to the needs of the sales force in our agriculture industry. And with the changes that we've witnessed over the last 12 months, his services are needed now more than ever. He's an agricultural sales trainer, coach, and speaker with over 29 years in agribusiness, sales, and sales management. I would like to welcome Greg Martinelli. Greg, thank you so much for being here.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm excited to talk about the topics that we're going to hit upon today. So,
very good. So can you give me a bit of background on your journey to where you're at today?
Sure. I grew up in a city, suburbs. So for being in agribusiness, that's a little bit unique, and decided that I wanted to go visit my cousin's dairy farm in Colorado. So that got me interested in the summers. My parents would send me out there, and I would go play on the farm all summer long and work and drive tractors and ride horses and milk cows and all that. So that got me interested. Went to school for animal science, and then eventually ended up in a 24 years with a large agribusiness company, primarily in the feed sales, nutrition sales, and sales management background. Got into the agronomy and grain origination, the grain elevators. Got to see a lot of the Midwest, the heart of how the breadbasket makes a lot of food, and involved in Canada, Eastern Canada, and Western Canada as well. And so it was an exciting career. All along the way, I wanted to, always wanted to have my own company, but never knew exactly how to do that. And got the opportunity to stop moving around and put some roots down, and launched a sales training, coaching, speaking service. And that's what this has been doing for the last 5 years. And very excited to be a part of it, and love being a part of your show this today.
Awesome. That's great. So you also run the Ag Sales Professionals podcast. So can you tell me about that and where the idea came from?
Yeah, well, as with everybody, I went to, how to grow the business. They said, you got to get your voice out there. You got to write and do a blog. So I did that from the very get-go, and just, did the 200th blog post last week. Very excited about that. After 5 years, it was 200 of them. And so somewhere along the path, I got the advice, well, you got to get the vocal. People have to hear you and know what you have to say and hear the intent. So do that with a podcast. So I launched the podcast with the intent of going out and talking to salespeople about how they do what they do. I did run into a little roadblock. People don't like to necessarily tell their competitors how they do what they do. So I end up talking a lot about my own blog topics, and then interviewing and meeting with people like yourself, people that support the agribusiness. So there's interviews mixed with actual blog topics that I do on a weekly basis. So that's kind of where that's at. And it's on all the different channels, all the different places, and of course on the websites as well.
Oh, that's awesome. So who are you aiming to reach with the podcast? Who's your target?
absolute primary target is anybody who makes a living by going out and selling to farmers, livestock producers, and agribusiness buyers. So it's it's funny that people will say, well, Greg, why such a narrow focus? I say, you don't understand. There's an army. People that aren't in agribusiness don't understand how big of an audience that is. You go to a trade show, if they're available, go to a trade show and you'll see booth after booth. Anybody that's trying to figure out how to be a better connector with the farmers and livestock producers. And then, of course, a lot of those products have to be sold to dealers and I call them agribusiness buyers. But that's who the audience really is for what I speak to. And that's primarily because that's what I was. They said, well, the other question I get is, Greg, why don't you speak to the C-suite, the CEOs and COOs, and because they're the ones that have more money. I said, well, I never was a COO. I didn't make it that far. Right. I only made it, one rung up, and that's what I knew how to do and what I know how to speak to. And so I focus on that. I think it's it's a market that's in need of somebody that came from the business to speak about it and just talk about it. I frequently get the comment, thanks for doing this for the industry. And I never realized that I'm doing it for the industry. I'm really kind of just doing it because that's what I know. And so, yeah.
And that audience is dear to my heart. There are so many people involved in agriculture at all different levels. And to have somebody to support them, I think that's really amazing.
Sure.
Yeah. So what do you want the audience to walk away with after they listen?
Here's the number one message I think they need to take away. I'm going to phrase it in a couple different ways. And this is agribusiness. And I don't mean this as any disrespect to what farmers do. Farmers feed the world. That's true. Mm-hmm. But agribusiness people help, and I sometimes say enable the farmer to feed the world. Agribusiness is what creates the tires on your tractor. They create the services that put those tires on there. They create the new vulcanized rubber. That's a word I heard about. So it's a new vulcanized rubber that prevents punctures on stubble. I mean, that's all the genetics of the seeds that they plant, the ability to withstand drought, and all the stuff that goes on. Agribusiness is what does that and brings it so that the farmer can do that. So that is the one message. I think the importance of their role is more important now than it ever was before in any given time. When you have an industry it's difficult now. Right now we have a run up in the markets, the grain markets. And so maybe making a living as a farmer is a little bit easier, but it's been very rocky for many years since the drought of 2012, and prices kind of came back off of the ethanol boom. It's been tough. My message to the agribusiness audience is that you are needed now more than ever before. If anybody needs advice, it's when their break even's right here and they're selling, they're right at break even, or they're even below break even. Believe it or not, our producers have to survive below break even, below what they're spending on their crops and their livestock. And so how to do that, they need someone that's very competent to come out to their farm and connect with them. The problem that I think we struggle with is that it gets viewed as a salesperson. That's a negative. They're trying to make commission. Get that out of their head and get that out of your head and get past that and realize that you need to become a trusted advisor and help them do what they need to do. So that would be the message. I think that those two kind of, you enable the world to eat.
Yes. Yeah. And that's honorable.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I know few salespeople in agriculture that do it for commission. They do it because they are serving the industry. Right.
If you were, you'd go do something with tremendously outrageous margins. And
exactly.
It's a lot. They always say it's a lot easier making a living doing. That's true. It absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And so in terms of trends in sales and sales management, what have you been seeing in the last year?
Well, obviously, the crisis hit with pandemic and the trends. What I view it, people always ask me, how do you sell or should we be selling? And, this is no time to sell. And I usually disagree with those and have to explain what selling is in order to explain that you need to be selling all the time. The way you sell might have changed. But I think what the pandemic and what the trends are this last year is that with a crisis, like any major crisis in the world, it speeds up a change. So, if we had the housing boom, bust in 2008, it all of a sudden sped up the change in how lending was done.
Right.
And so it enacts things. And so what I think I've seen with agribusinesses is it sped up number one, it sped up everybody with technology. Everybody's now Zooming and Snapchatting, and they're all getting comfortable with it. It forced it. If your customers that maybe didn't like it before, if they wanted to see their grandkids and their kids, they are now they need to get online and find out what, Snapchat's all about, or, Facebook is all about. It's no longer an option for them to be part of their family. So that really helped us. And so that's one of the trends that I see is that trend towards faster technology of realizing we need it. The second thing I think that's being evaluated is the go-to-market strategy. And by that, I mean, and I always tell people, especially in sales and especially when you're in a company, make sure you're evaluating your effectiveness of why you're part of a business. In today's environment where a lot of stuff can be converted to online purchasing or purchasing from across state, equipment, tractors are being shopped all over the place to find the exact one that they want. Didn't happen previously. You need to make sure, and I see the trend is the go-to-market strategy. How many salespeople do we need? We're going from, I need a Acme salesperson in every county to, hey, how many salespeople do we actually need in Smith County, Arkansas, or Macon County, Georgia? How many actual people do we need on the ground? Could we serve that market in a different way? And so they're reevaluating. Everybody went home and officed out of their home. And I was like, great. And it says, people are going to start wondering, do we need you? Now, that evaluation is a very deep discussion about what do they do and the personal touch that they provide as companies get bigger and maybe more remote. But I see that as a trend. And the other trend I think that's going on, I think is really critical as a positive, is getting very specific in customer segmentation, is knowing who are our customers and where are they buying our products, and marketing and focusing on those pathways, and not saying we're going to serve the 50 acre and the 5,000 acre person. That's very difficult. So they're like, what are we strong at? What can we ask somebody to pay more to us versus online or from another county? So that's probably the bigger sales management type company trends. I think from a salesperson trend, it's becoming a more trend towards a trusted advisor. It's less about going out and moving product. That's how we get paid, and that's an important role. But it's also about how am I helping that person generate revenue across all different product lines in my role.
That's it. Excellent points.
Yeah.
And how can producers and farmers leverage sales reps as broader resources?
Absolutely. This is one of those areas. Again, it's a recommendation of both the producers, the buyer, and the salesperson, and that is, you have more to bring. They have more to bring to the table than producers really realize. There's technical people, PhDs. There's always somebody creating the products, whether it's in their company or their vendors, and there's people that supply them. They are connected with a wide variety of industry people that they can bring to the table. I mentioned you previously about I was a nutritionist and I got asked about shavings suppliers,
right?
Because apparently shavings at one point were tough to get, and and somebody wasn't putting 50 pounds in the little bale of shavings; they were stretching it out, and so all these things were going on. I was getting asked a lot about that. I also sold into the poultry industry nutrition products, but was asked frequently about diagnosing sick animals. So who can go post an animal and figure out what's going on? And I realized there's a need for this networking, this bringing more than just me to the farm, to the producer, to the ag buyer. And they value that tremendously. Once you get known for someone, it's not necessarily you can walk out and say, hey, this is what I am, but it's when you're a resource and you know people and you're connected in the industry. So it's getting a lot of curiosity. So the advice for the producer is ask a lot of questions. Who do you know that's doing this? Where are you seeing other examples of this? and I always tell salespeople, you're in a unique role. You go all day long, farm to farm to farm, producer to producer. You see things that are working and that are, you don't have to go to the next one and say it by name. You can't say, hey, Steve up the road is doing this, or Chrissy over here is doing this. That's a little, unless you have permission. But you certainly can say, hey, I see producers that evaluate their break-evens by using this method. Maybe you don't have to use that, but it's showing an example to them of what the opening their mind to a possibility. Or, a lot of people having problems with whatever it is on their tractor, getting service or getting parts. Here's what they're doing to solve that, and being able to help them. I think it's so important that you bring that understanding of going farm to farm and what the producer gives you.
Yeah. That's a really good point too. So what's your advice to ag sales professionals in this climate, not knowing when face-to-face events will become normal again? What do you say to them?
Biggest thing they can do is build their personal brand, and build it in person if they can, online if they can't, through email, there is a huge opportunity for agribusiness professionals, salespeople predominantly. And that is right now, we're really camera shy folks. We don't like to get on camera and beat our drum that we're great people. And you don't have to in order to get the message out. Content marketing is a tremendous tool that salespeople can use. I'm sure you do it with some of your clients and you advise them as well, is being out there, getting the videos, getting the raw footage of what you're doing, what makes you different. And there's a step-by-step process you can go through it. And it's a great tool. And even if you don't want to be the one beating the drum that you're great, have somebody take the video of you. That would be my advice to people is, if you are camera shy and you don't want to have your own blog, there's people behind the scenes that'll do all the hard work. I mean, the hard work is not the content. Tractors, agribusiness, nutrition and agronomy. Just go on camera and talk. That's all you got to do. Or write a few sentences about what it is that makes what needs to happen, or what are the problems your customers are having, and address those problems in a format and online, some format. And the tough part is, is the splicing, the editing, the posting in the YouTube format. And then you got the LinkedIn format, and then you got the whatever format, whatever's next. Now it's, I forget, there's a new platform out there that everybody's using, but anyway, that's the tough part. And somebody's doing that for them, typically in most companies. So
I understand you have a training course for salespeople as well. How does that go? How does that work?
A variety of different ways. I do customized stuff for individual companies. And then I do an online virtual course, which they can be participating in. And then I do live, Zoom type stuff. I shouldn't say live, but I do in person. So there's a variety of ways to get involved from an individual standpoint or from a team standpoint. And I enjoy all of it. I mean, obviously being in person is the best, but the website, my website is a great way for them to find it. There's ads and click buttons all over there, some free webinars that they can view and see if it's for them, as well as, just a variety of different write-ups and quick videos, and a YouTube channel like we all do. We have all kinds of social media out there with different ways for them to learn about us and what we do.
That's great. So where can people find you?
www.gregmartinelli.net.
Doesn't get simpler than that. That's good.
Yeah. gregmartinelli.net. Ag Sales Professionals. I bought them all. Ag Sales Professionals is the LLC, the company name. So they can look up Ag Sales Professionals. If they look up agribusiness sales training, any of those things, I should be high enough in the search there that they find me. Ag Sales Professionals TV is the YouTube TV channel. Right. And then of course the podcast, as we talked about, is on, Stitcher and Spotify and all those, and iPods and stuff like that.
Perfect. Yeah. So definitely recommend listening to your podcast if you're in ag sales, for sure. It's nice to know that you're kind of building a community for an audience that really does need it. Absolutely. I think that's really great. So one last question. How do you personally want to impact the ag industry? How do you want to be forever remembered?
Making a difference in the lives of the people that I work with. So my little motto thing, on my is make a lot of money, sell a lot of products and all that stuff, but it's making a difference in the lives of the people that I work with. And I think that's the thing that as you get done and you remember back to the great people that you work with and the managers that I had that I really enjoyed, and is they made a difference in my life. They gave me a different perspective. They were part of more than just my boss and did great things, and more than just provided a way for me to make a lot of money or anything like that. Is that, they changed who I was as a person. I think that's the thing that we can do is in our jobs, in our roles as salespeople, and as trainers, whatever we're doing, is how do we make a difference in the lives of the people that we interact with, whether that's 10 or 10,000 or 10 million. It's having that impact and being remembered.
Absolutely. That's really awesome. So thank you so much for joining me today, Greg. And thanks to all who are watching or listening. If you want to hear the podcast, go to NorthAmericanAg.com and go to the Best of Ag page. You'll find it there as well, which Best of Ag is a podcast library of just agriculture-based podcasts. And the links are provided in the notes below. So thanks so much, Greg.
Thank you.
The way we conduct business in agriculture has endured a drastic change. Our handshake industry has traditionally been face-to-face, but with the cancellation of in-person events and farm shows, everyone has had to adapt, from farms to manufacturers to service providers. With a dizzying array of marketing and digital business choices, you need to make the right decisions or risk not being seen at all. If you need advice or a customized plan for your business, don't hesitate to reach out to me at chrissywozniak.com or chrissy.info, because that's easier to spell. Don't risk not pivoting your business. Find a path that will take you into the digital space and be seen by our industry.